when we talk about leadership, we talk about a checklist of things that we need to do. And if we do A, B, and C, and we communicate right, and we have the right people in place, and we build our team just right, then we will automatically be successful. And yet we can all think of examples where leaders have done everything on the checklist, and they haven't quite met the mark. What's the difference? How do we invoke the magic to be successful? When we are acting in what Malcolm Gladwell called the blink, that's when we are channeling something greater than we are, and we are able to lead from a place that people want to follow. That may be an opportunity for growth in the self-mastery area, because people don't watch what we say, they watch what we do. And if we can't lead ourselves to the gym every morning, how can we lead our teams to success?
So I speak on purposeful leadership because I believe that the idea of purpose is what keeps people engaged. And for me, purposeful leadership has three components. The first one is self-mastery. We have to be able to lead ourselves before we can lead anybody else. And then the second one is building a can-do culture. That's where we build relationships with our vendors and our employees and our teams and everybody in our organization, because people do business with people. And so can-do culture is all about relationships. And then finally, purposeful leadership is all about an audacious purpose. I've seen businesses fail not because they're not sincere and committed, but because their purpose wasn't compelling enough to keep people involved and engaged.
So culture is one of those amorphous things that we all know it when we see it, but it's kind of hard to define. But building a can-do culture comes from having empathy for your customers, being able to provide the product that your customers want, not the thing you want to give. Having a can-do culture means having team members who have enough emotional intelligence to build resiliency and overcome adversity. And building a can-do culture means being able to navigate changing market conditions in any situation and having the ability to communicate effectively about those changes. It's one of those things that when we can master ourselves, we can build the team that creates the can-do culture. Studies have shown that emotional intelligence is a greater indicator of success than intellect.
In the last 10 to 20 years, there's been a shift in mindset about how we work, particularly with the emerging workforce. More and more people are looking for purpose. They don't care as much about a paycheck, they don't care as much about time off or benefits, although those things are still important. They want to be part of a company that does good as well as doing well. And so it's important for corporations to understand this new mindset and to make a shift if they haven't started already. And so that's what I help corporations do, is shift to this new mindset where they can have a workforce that is excited and engaged and compelled by their purpose.
So the main ingredient of purposeful leadership is to have an audacious purpose. That's not just a big purpose or a meaningful purpose, it's an audacious purpose. If your purpose isn't big enough, you'll achieve some things, but you'll never achieve great things. You have to have a vision that's so big that it takes your breath away. My favorite example of this comes from the American Civil War and the Battle of Gettysburg. You know, when the Civil War started in 1861, it was a fight over the American Constitution. It was a fight over whether states had the rights to determine their own laws or whether the federal government did. And if the states didn't like what the federal government was doing, could they kind of come and go as they pleased in the Union, or was it a perpetual union? That's what started the Civil War. The South thought they could leave over the issue of slavery. The North thought they needed to stay. After the first 2 years of the war, a battle happened in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. You might have heard of it. The Battle of Gettysburg was the tragedy, it was the tsunami of its day. It was this huge tragedy with 51,000 casualties. And there were so many dead people left on the field that they had to create a cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to bury the dead. At the dedication of that cemetery on November 19th, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln was invited to speak. He wasn't the main speaker, he was kind of an afterthought. He was just supposed to say a few appropriate remarks. When Abraham Lincoln says 77 years ago and goes back to 1776, he takes us back not to the Constitution, which was framed in 1787, but to the Declaration of Independence in 1776. And in that year, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. He established this audacious vision for the United States that, thank God, today we take for granted. That all human beings are created equal, that all are endowed with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This was an audacious vision in 1863. So I ask you, are you carrying an audacious vision for your organization? Is it a vision that takes your breath away? Is it a vision that inspires people to master themselves? To build teamwork in a can-do culture and to follow that purpose no matter what? Because when you have those three things combined, that's when you get the magic of purposeful leadership.
When we find the thing that we are uniquely gifted to do, we're living in our purpose. And when you get a group of individuals together who are each living their individual purpose collectively, that's where the magic happens.
So when I talk about the magic of purposeful leadership, I talk about us building a foundation to lead based on our own observations and our own expectations. And purposeful leadership then is this alchemical mix of our own self-mastery, building a can-do culture within our organization, and doing all of that in service to an audacious purpose. Hi, I'm Dr. Judy Morley. I'm so grateful that you decided to check out what I have to offer here. I'm looking forward to setting up a call to talk more about your event.